Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we are going to start and begin to design a water project, a water feature, a waterfall, a wall of water. Okay, so once you've marked out your line, you lay out a straight line. Every ½ inch we need to drill a hole, and this is going to match up with the little insert that we put inside there. This is tedious work. It takes quite a bit of time. And you might have a drill press. That would be a lot easier than trying to do this by hand, but regardless, it does take time to do. But once you get this all done, we're going to put the inserts in here, and I stuck one in. So we've got, this is a 10-foot piece of pipe. Every ½ inch, you figure that out. What's 180, 220, 240, I believe, holes in this 10-foot section of pipe. So, I stuck one in here so you could see it. You can see the insert. See if we can get it out of there. Pretty hard to get out once you pound them in. But anyways, that is get where you can see it. That is a coupler for 1/4 inch irrigation. And what you do is you buy a big pack of those, and you have to cut off the tip of it so that you can match up this hole. Let me get the drill size for you real quick. If you can see it there, it's 11/64. And I just, I measured that, matched them up, made a couple holes on a piece of pipe just to get the right size. Then you just use a rubber mallet to pound those. And that's the insert. As you can see, it's a really small piece, but I cut this. This is designed to puncture into the 1/4 inch irrigation drip line, but I cut that piece off, and then I just pound this whole piece straight down into the pipe on that 11/64 inch. Your vinyl laid out, I started to throw some gravel in there, but I wanted to show you. Go ahead and run some water. Make sure you got good fall. You can see it going all the way down. All the water's running down to that end, and then I've got it stopped, but it'll go down over the hill down to your well. Okay, before we go any further, we need to go ahead and get our sump basin, the hole dug for that. You can see I dug the hole. Here's the basin. Let's drop it down in there and push on a little bit, whatever. But I want to get this nipple lined up with where the waterfall is going to end. It's going to come down right through there, and there'll be a catch basin right there underneath the rock that lets the water disappear and come into the basin. And then of course we're going to have our outlet line, which is going to be 1.5 inches before it starts. I'm going to try to use a Zoller M53. That's 1/3 of a horsepower. I think that's probably more than enough. But anyways, go from 1.5 inches or reduce it to 1 inch so that it goes up the hill, and there at the first post we'll bring that water up, and it'll come across and of course be a wall of water dropping into the system, back down the waterfall and into the well, which is our sump basin, and it just recycles until you want to turn it off. So always take the time to backfill your pit properly, because it can float up if it's not perforated. Remember, we are containing this water and recycling it. So we've got to make sure that that pit doesn't float up. And I've just got a piece of plastic over the lid so that no debris gets down in there. And I don't always show this on the videos when we install the outdoor sump basin, because we're doing other things. But you got to pack it in there. So turn your shovel upside down and really pack it, and it'll sink way down, and just keep adding more. So once your basin's really packed in, you can start to do a few other things. Take the lid off. You can see I already added the inlet line. It's coming over to a 90, and I just stuck a piece of pipe on here just so no dirt would get in it. But we'll talk about that in a second. So we brought it in. Remember the inlet, the nipple? You've seen me do this many times. You see right here is the nipple, and I went ahead and cut that off before I put the pit in, so we have a place to bring our 4-inch pipe in. And we're going to put plastic or the vinyl all around here. it may look like a pond, but really it's just a collection area, and we'll put gravel and rock over top of it. You won't even see anything, but where the 90 is, there I might put a riser up, but there'll be a grate there. So it's just like a floor drain or a catch basin. And again, remember what this system's doing. This is recycling water. So it's coming from up top. That's going to be the wall of water. We'll run that pipe across there. I'll show you how we make that. It's going to drop down into the gravel perforated pipe, the French drain, and then it's going to come through a system of rock, like a waterfall, and it's going to get collected right there by that 90 and a grate. So it all comes back into the basin. What we're getting ready to do now is go ahead and plumb the pipe that comes from the pipe, or excuse me, from the pump out. It'll go up the hill, and again, we'll send it through the actual waterfall, the wall of water, and it'll all drop down, comes back down, and just recycles over and over. But right now what we got to do is go ahead and drill a 2-inch hole. You've seen me do this many times, just like the discharge of any regular sump basin. I'm going to put my Zoller M53. We'll start with that. I think that's more than powerful enough to do this. Bring it up, 1.5 inches, put a check valve on it, and we'll drill through. And out here, we'll switch over to 1-inch pipe, which is going to create some pressure. So I'm curious how powerful that waterfall will really be. But we'll switch over to 1 inch, and then we'll go up that first post. It'll make a 90 and turn and go across. That's where the waterfall is. I want to review that one more time, because this is something that's really important. You need a 2-inch hole saw and your handy dandy Black & Decker or whatever you got. And what you're doing is you're drilling down through the pit, but you're below grade. So it makes the perfect 1.5 inches. This is the exact outer diameter. It makes the perfect hole every time. And remember, we're going to hook the pump up down here. You'll have a 90 to go out. And then we're going to change this from 1.5 inches down, reduce it down to 1 inch, so we can go up the hill. Okay, so here's where we are. I went ahead and set a used Zoller M53. Person upgraded that and put in the M98. But I want to try it first. So we put in a used one. Remember that we're lifting water. It's called a head, and we're lifting water nearly 20-25 feet. So we want to make sure we have a pump that's powerful enough to lift the water that high, but we don't want one that's too powerful, because we're going to reduce this as it comes out. You can see where I've stopped, or I butted it out. We're going to reduce that, and when you reduce that to a smaller diameter pipe, it creates more pressure. So we want to check this one out first, and hopefully I can get enough done here today to show you this thing kick on, and we'll see how much pressure it really has. But right now you can see it all sets up the same way. Starts off with a male threaded 1.5 inch adapter, small piece of PVC as the riser, check valves, arrows pointing upwards, and then we have a 90. Remember how we drilled through the side of the basin to bring that out. So now I'm going to go ahead and reduce this to 1-inch pipe and send it on up the hill, on up to the top, where it will have a 90 up there at the bottom of that first step, and it'll go right up that post to where we'll have actually the waterfall pipe. Okay, itself. I just wanted to show you real quick before I put the liner over it, because all of this is actually under the liner. But remember, we've got the pump lifting up the water, showed you that. We've got the inlet that's collecting that water as it comes back down the hill. There'll be a catch basin, we'll call it, a grate here, where water will come down in and go back into the pit. But what I did to help go up this hill, if you look, this is a 1.5 to 1.25 inch no hub. These things are great. I use them all the time. And what that's allowing me to do is to give it a little bit of bend. You can see it's got some flex in it. And then there's an 1.25 to 1 inch bushing that I put the other end of the no hub on and glued that to the 1.5 inch pipe. So I'm getting ready to lay the rest of the liner, but I wanted you to see that. And of course, then I plumbed it, all the way up to just above the top of where we're going to turn and let our waterfall come down. So let me put this together, get it covered, and then I'm actually going to fill up this sump basin, and we'll see how much pressure we have. We're lifting that water a good distance, like I said, 20-25 feet. which I believe the Zoller M53 will easily do that. But what I'm curious about is how much pressure is going to come out right there. I mean, is it going to be a fountain, or is it just going to bubble out? We need to see. Okay, so once I filled the system up, you can see it. It kind of disappears, through some of the stone. But if you look carefully, see if we can zoom it in. You see the river of water running down, all the way down. And it fills up the little pool, dumps into the sump basin, and just sends it back up the hill. A simple fountain, but remember, we're going to add the wall of water up here where I'm standing, and we got to finish that off, and we're going to drill the holes in the pipe today. We'll have all that set and ready to go. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.